Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm an SRE that's approved, and I have been rolling out changes pretty much non-stop my entire career. Some of them have been beautiful things that I am extremely proud of, and other ones have been catastrophic failures that have left me emotionally scarred, and I'm talking to you today so that you can avoid having the same scars that I have. Look at my emotional scarage. We have not yet reached the dystopian world in which we can get force pushed directly into another human's brain. This is not the process you're looking for. But that's IT, right? We roll out a thing, hopefully we iterate a couple times, but all too soon we gotta pivot out and start on something new. When this works, it's fine. Everyone loves this new thing that you've built to make their life better. But when it doesn't work, it is the worst. The people rolling out the change hate the people who are resisting the change. The people resisting the change don't even know what the heck this stuff even is. Why should they bother? And so you end up with subverted processes and shadow IT, which means the thing that you were trying to fix doesn't get fixed, which means in 6 to 18 months, we're doing this all again, only we're all emotionally exhausted. So just as we're a bunch of nerds that like computers, there are also a bunch of nerds that like change management. And they have several different frameworks that they use to predict the success or failure of a change. The one I'm going to rely on for this talk is called ADKAR, and it's an acronym for Awareness, Desire, Knowledge, Ability, and Reinforcement. Awareness that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. Desire to fix said problem. Knowledge on how to fix the problem. Ability to apply that knowledge. And reinforcement because we're all humans. To be clear, this talk is not about how to shove a terrible change down someone's throat. This talk is about how to make sure that you're rolling out a good change and how to roll it out in a way that people will go, ah, I see the obvious goodness of this change and I will go along with it because I can and want to. So all of your work changes are going to impact other people. Everything you do has an edge. This is a giant gear. It's going to take me a long time to draw it. Everything you do has edges with other people. And so if you make a change, it's also going to affect them. And it's really, really, really easy to not be aware of all of the other people's stuff that's going on. So stakeholder interviews are the most crucial part of any sort of change management rollout. This will help you understand if they even recognize that a problem exists, or if they do, what they really want, what are going to be the biggest wins for you, and how hard it's going to be to get them to adopt your changes. So the first thing you do when you're doing your stakeholder interviews is get some of them into a room. So I would have support in one meeting, sales in another, and some other consultants in the third meeting. And I just describe the problem space, not necessarily what I think their problem is, but what I'm seeing. And then I ask them to elaborate, what are the problems that you see in this space? What are the opportunities to make your life not miserable in this space? Write it all down. Once you've gotten all that written down, ask them to help sort it out. You want to find out what is very important to them, do not break this thing that we already have, otherwise it's going to be impossible to get us on board with your change. Once you get this sorted, then you're able to start making real plans on what are the most important features for your change to have versus things that are nice but won't necessarily get you the human oomph that you need to make sure that it is a sticky change. Once you've done your stakeholder interviews and you've gotten a good idea of what you need to build and you've started building it, go back to those stakeholders. Before you're done, go back to them and say, hey, that thing that you said you wanted, we were able to do it. Even if you were going to do it no matter what they said, give them credit. It's like IKEA furniture. Because they got to be involved, it makes them part of the process and more invested in its success. But it is the real world. We're probably not going to be able to make a perfect thing that makes everybody equally happy. Be honest and be upfront about that. Come back to them and say, hey, we know that you really needed this one thing. And we heard what you said, but it turns out that that's actually going to be directly opposed to what the sales team needs. So we prioritize their needs because it had the greater business value. Build the best thing for the whole group and then explain the trade-offs that you had to make. This is going to help you create evangelists instead of enemies, and you really want evangelists when you're making a human change. Once you've explained to them what you were able to deliver, what compromises had to be made, and maybe your ideas for addressing their needs later on, see if they're still cool with it. Like, is this still a change that you can support? If not, like, they're telling you right up front that you've probably made a bad change, and will give you an indication of how hard you're going to have to work to make this stick. Once you've built your solution, double check that you haven't introduced new stakeholders to the equation. Story time! One of the first changes I did, the problem set was that sales, support, and our consultants all use different tools to store customer data. We found something that would solve this problem and also solve another problem, which was our wiki at the time was really old and slow and dilapidated and everybody hated it. I went, oh wow, our tool, it replaces this old wiki and everyone will be happy, obviously. But everyone uses that wiki. HR, engineering, all these other teams that weren't part of my initial problem set. And the reason that specific change effort failed is because I did not go back and interview those stakeholders to find out what they needed and make sure that they were okay with the whole thing. That's where it all crumbled. So be sure, if your solution introduces new stakeholders, that you are going to them and including them on this journey. Look at my emotional scourge. Okay. You've done your interviews, you've crafted a beautiful solution, you've gone back to your stakeholders, everyone's on board, it's time for the rollout. Start with the tigers. What are the absolutely terrifying things that are going to happen if we do not do this change? You're really going for emotional impact here. But feelings are weird, Tiffany. I don't want to be emotionally manipulative. All right, I've heard this a lot from people in tech. And so we try to pretend that feelings don't exist, and all of our arguments are coming from the most purely logical point in the universe. We are humans. We have feelings. Pretending they don't exist is actually very illogical. Let's look at some examples of what good arguments look like. Hi, do you remember that time where you spent 2 days debugging an issue that someone had already solved? Man, didn't that suck? Hey, did you know GDPR is coming down the pipeline, and if we don't comply with it, we might get into a whole bunch of legal trouble? Did you see what happened to Equifax? Man, I sure hope nothing like that happens to us. We pride ourselves on being an automation company, don't we? Why is it then that these important steps here are still manual? Shouldn't we automate that? Once you've established and made them aware that a big, terrible thing exists, we need to also point them to the grand, glorious future with puppies and kittens that lies in wait after we have adopted this change. Again, you really want to go for emotional impact here. As much as I wish that people cared about data quality, they don't. What they really want is to go home happy on time because they didn't have to stay late working to redo a project that didn't meet the customer deadlines because the data was bad, because the data quality wasn't up to snuff. That, going home early, going home on time, going home without having customers yell at you, those are beautiful puppies. Sell that. Other good examples are easier work, less work, the work that you're doing is more interesting when you do it, the greater good if it's a green initiative, if it's actually improving your community. Will rolling out this new process or this new tool bring you into closer alignment with your idealized selves? Are you really a cutting-edge, customer-facing development org? Adopting these practices is what cutting-edge, customer-centric orgs do. We need to do that because otherwise we're going to be lying to ourselves. You've pointed out the tigers, you've identified the puppies. Now and only now do we start talking about the how, the knowledge. What do you need to do to roll out this change? Never, ever start here. Who here has seen someone try and implement a change? Maybe they just want to add a drop-down menu to your Jira system, and everybody knew how to use a drop-down menu. It's not that hard. But 6 months later, no one has used it, and no one even remembers why it's there. It's because you started with the how rather than the why. Also, when you are rolling out this change, we're really good at knowing what works for us, and a lot of us happen to really like docs. And so we might be tempted to just say, read the documentation. But here's the thing, not all of us learn the same way. We should take into account other people's learning styles. You don't necessarily have to do one thing for each. You can combine different learning styles and make them available. One way that I'm able to ensure that other people can follow along is when I launch, I have a class. And so the act of having this class means I'm using my voice, which means that people that learn best by hearing are getting that benefit. I'm still going over the same materials. I'm also going to be walking them through it, and we'll go through each step together, which means that the people that learn best by doing get a chance to do in an environment where they can get immediate feedback. Speaking of feedback, some people learn better in groups and some people learn better on their own. People that learn better in groups are really going to appreciate having this class. People that learn better on their own are going to appreciate the fact that I recorded this class and made the video available online. The fourth step is ability. Do the people who need to apply the change have the ability to do it? The best way to do this is to give them someone that they can emulate. You want them to be like Mike. And you want to give them as many details that enable them to be like Mike as possible. It's not just they troubleshoot the issue. What are the playbooks? What are the specific steps? The more detailed your descriptions are, the more someone can visualize themselves walking through each step. And the more they can visualize it, the stickier that change is going to be in their head. All that being said, the easiest changes to follow are often the simplest. Have you removed as much fiddliness from the getting things done as possible? Talk to a UX friend and see if there are barriers to entry that are keeping your tool or your process change from being fully adoptable. In change management, this is often called clearing the path. The easiest change to adapt to is the one that doesn't take any effort to get through. One of the most important parts I think about ability is subverting imposter syndrome. As much as we learn from failure, we still have a lot of emotional baggage from growing up in other jobs maybe where we have been punished for failure. Look at my emotional scourge. One reason someone might resist a change is because they fear that they might fail at it. One of the tools we chose because it was dead simple for someone to just go in and do what they needed to do, except for this one page, which was so bad. Oh man, luckily only a few people had to use it, but I knew those people were going to be miserable. So everyone knew that when they got to a painful point, they would search our help docs and they would find out what they needed to find. So we start this page with, hello, it's not you, it's the tool. You're here because you've probably landed on that one page. Here's a picture of a baby monkey. Please enjoy the baby monkey for as long as you need to before finding out how to fix the problem. And then below, we walked step by all the secret handshakes and fiddly knobs that you needed to have perfectly dialed in order to get to this one aspect. Let them know that it's not them. It really is that tricky. Make them feel good about themselves. If you make them feel bad about themselves, they're going to avoid doing the thing that you want them to do. Hooray! You've made them aware of the tigers. You've pointed out the puppies. They know how to roll out your change. They're able to roll out your change. We're done here, right? Who amongst us has not seen someone roll out a change that just didn't happen? Everyone knew how to do it. They just didn't. Turns out we are all humans. We are all made out of meat and feelings, and we need to be reminded because there is a lot of stuff going on in our worlds. What's great about measurement is that it actually works as a reminder. Remember that thing I launched? It's making stuff go up and to the right. You want to be part of that up and to the right stuff. It's also really handy if you're able to track who has and has not implemented your change. If you have login records or if you just need to check how many teams have actually built out this pipeline, there you go. Check that, remind them. If they haven't done it, one, they're probably busy, or they might be a little bit afraid. Talk to them. See if you can offer them any help. Because if they're busy or afraid, help is the answer. New people are a font of enthusiasm. They are eager to start working, they are eager to provide value, and if the thing that you have rolled out is easy for them to learn and implement, they are going to be a big fan, and they're going to take that enthusiasm that they already have bubbled up, and they're going to direct it at your change, which is actually going to help all the other people in your group, in their group, go, oh yeah, we need to do that. Make sure that your onboarding documentation is. In summary, remember ADKAR when you're rolling out changes. People need to be aware of the tigers that exist in your problem space. They need to desire to fix the problem. They need to know how to do it and be able to fix the thing. And you need to remind them because we're all human. If you've enjoyed this talk and want to read more about it, here's some books that I found hella useful. If you want to Twitter me, my handle is @thelongshanks, and thank you.